Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. As you know, my name is Miss Higgi, Helen Higginbotham, and I am the president and founding officer for When Black Women Gather. We meet here every Sunday at 4 p.m. to talk about all kinds of topics that are of interest to Black women in general. Sometimes we invite people, men and white women and other constituencies into our circle, but for the most part, it's just us, Black women. So welcome if this is your first time. Today, we're going to be talking about finance. We've had Juanda on before. This will be our first time having her talk with, I'm sorry, I'm doing two things at once. This will be the first time that we'll have her speaking with Miss Odrick. I hope I'm saying her name right. And Miss Odrick is a retirement strategist, and she's retirement strategist, and she's going to join us after the fact. We're going to start off with Juanda Honore, and she's going to talk to us about finance. And Juanda has been with us before, as I said. And she is the president of Urban Financial Literacy. She actually lives in View Park, California, and she's an entrepreneur, community activist. She's been living there for over 30 years. She will share with us her experience in different business ventures. She will actually arrange for those of you who are interested to meet with you one-on-one. After she and Ms. Odrick do their thing, it will be open up the conversation for you and all to do Q&A. So any questions that you have with her, I encourage you to take advantage of it now. Is Juanda on? Do you see her, Kelthia? Juanda, is she back on?
I don't.
I'm on. I'm trying to get my screen view to open up. Once I change back over, for some reason, it's not allowing me to do the full screen so I can share. So hopefully I'll be able to do that in a second.
Okay, we can see you.
Yeah, you can see me, but for some reason I can't. Oh, let me see. I know what I need to do. I need to exit out of this. Let me try to exit out so I can see you guys. I can't find my, okay, there it goes. I can't get to my controls. That's the problem.
So just a little bit about Juanda while she's doing that. After Juanda, Juanda is a Delta Sigma Theta for those of you who are in the audience who are also DST. She has always wanted to do more for herself and the community, which we know those of us who have worked with her in the past. She's very involved with the community and helping us to get closer toward financial literacy. After college, Juanda pursued a career as a police officer for the Los Angeles School Police Department, where she would be able to have impact on the lives of young people. At 26, she became the youngest business owner in the first urban mall built in the United States after 5 years. What was the name of that company? I forgot. It was
Mata.
What was it?
Mata.
No, the company that you had in the mall.
Oh, TJ Cinnamon's Bakery.
Yeah, I knew it was something I like to eat. But anyway, so you were 26 when you did that, right? So she became the youngest business owner in the first urban mall built in the United States. After 5 years, Juanda closed that business, but was determined to pursue business ownership and teach other young people how to open and operate a business also. Shortly after that, she was introduced to Mata, one of the first social economic businesses in the country that focused on Black economic and redirecting Black dollars into the hands of Black manufacturers to recycle our dollars. And I don't know if I remember Mata. That was the one where the guy was the leader was the guy who got killed by the sniper, right? Yeah, I remember that. Kelthia, why are you on my screen? Do you know? I don't know.
On your screen?
Yeah, maybe it was just my screen. I had your
It must just be you. I think we still have some entanglement from that time, like,
entanglement. Don't use that word.
Don't worry. You know what I mean.
That word will never be the same. But anyway, I'm really trying to kill time to help Wanda. Wanda, you look beautiful today.
I'm sorry. I'm ready now. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna stop talking and turn it over to Wanda. As I said earlier, her and Ms. Odrick will be handling this whole conversation today. I'll be here at the end to help with the Q&A section, but there it goes. It's all yours, Wanda.
Okay, I'm sorry. What do you see on your screen? Am I showing, are you seeing?
We were
my
seeing your PowerPoint. Now we're seeing you. But go back to, we were seeing your PowerPoint, which is what you want, right?
Yeah, let me move myself out the way. Okay, there it is, because that's confusing me. Okay, there we go. Oops, that's not the one. There we go. Okay.
We're still seeing you. We don't see your PowerPoint.
Oh, you don't see PowerPoint? Okay, let me Jesus. Let me try to fix this.
You had it up.
Okay. Let me. I don't know why I'm having problems. Okay, so you see me now, right?
Yes. Is everybody seeing her or is it just me? Kelthia, what are you seeing?
We see her.
We see her.
I see her.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so let me then try and pull up the PowerPoint. But anyhow, welcome everyone. Sorry for the delay. Thank you for the people that I invited that are here, and thank you for having me, Helen. As you know, I love talking about this topic, and I also love talking to our people and women, and so this has been a very near and dear topic for me, because I was in the situation as a Black woman where I had done a lot of things, not having the information that I really needed to have, but I wanted to have more. I didn't want to just settle for just a average life. I wanted to have the best life that I could have. And I was fortunate because my mother passed. That wasn't fortunate, but I'm sorry. I was fortunate to have a mother who had prepared, and unfortunately she did pass away at an early age, but in passing, she was able to leave myself and my sister a little bit of an inheritance that we were able to do some things with. And so I chose to use that money to be able to go into business. And, Helen read all the different things that I had done, but the fact was I didn't have a lot of understanding of what I needed to know. And that lack of understanding led me into a lot of different directions and a lot of different things that unfortunately I could have shortened the journey to where I am now had I understood. And so my goal is to help those that I can to be able to give them some information and also give them some options of what they can do that would help, and also, and even more important, we have to include our children and our family in our money conversations. When I grew up, money was like something that didn't involve you as a child, get away, that's grown folk talk. And that's an unfortunate thing, because I have so many friends and family members who are dealing with issues with their elder parents. And most of those issues have to do with finances and them the parents not having the plan, the child not having a plan of what to do to help their parent. And it just becomes a very exasperating situation to deal with when you have elder family members who have not planned. And then you have the child trying to figure out, and their life then becomes consumed, which it's not even fair, and so we really have to do better with that. And that also has a big factor in the wealth that we don't have, let's say, because we spend a lot of money figuring things out the hard way as opposed to planning. And so fortunately, my mother did have a plan to an extent. When she got cancer, she didn't have a lot of time. And she did at least put a will in place, although she didn't even let me know that she had one, and I had to find it after she was gone. But that will at least provided some opportunity. Now, what it didn't provide was to not have to go through probate. And we've seen that happen with so many families, recently with, everybody I think remembers Aretha Franklin and even Chadwick Chapman. I'm not saying his name right, but the brother from the Black Panther, he didn't have a proper trust in the estate in place that he should have. So that's a major factor in leaving a legacy and passing on wealth. And so we have got to do better. And so that was, it's one of the things that I definitely wanted to, and that's something that Lynn will actually speak a little bit more on. But let me go ahead and share my slides. I'm not going to show a whole lot of slides, but I did want to, and hopefully this will work right, share. Okay, so, okay, there we go. You can see my screen now?
Yes, but not your PowerPoint. It just says that you're sharing your screen, so maybe go to the slide that has that.
Okay, maybe I had two on here. Let me go back to that other one. Maybe I did the wrong one. I don't know.
They have so many browsers now. That's what's confusing for me too. Much
Okay.
as I hate Teams, I hate to say it's easier in Teams.
Okay, what about that?
All right, yes.
Okay, let's see here. Let me see if we can, if I do this, that. Okay, all right, great. I'm so sorry. Okay, so anyhow, I'm not gonna, the organization Urban Financial Literacy is actually something that came about as a result of my journey through learning this information, and then wanting to share it and wanting to find a way where people would focus on the information as opposed to focus on other things that sometimes got in the way. And so I felt the best way was for me to create my own organization that basically said what I do, Urban Financial Literacy. And and my goal is to share this information across the country. And I actually have an ultimate goal of leaving a legacy where I've helped over 1,000 families to be able to create generational wealth and pass it on to their family. And so that's just a personal legacy that I want to leave behind. And I've set myself a goal of leaving of helping to establish a $30 million legacy, and that will look, I don't know what that will look like exactly in terms of how it will be distributed, but I do know that I want to be able to help make a difference with the people that are going to be here once I'm gone. And I don't have any children or any other persons really to leave it to. So I'm really trying to work hard on helping others that I want to help. So in terms of looking at wealth, one of the questions, we got to think about is, what is wealth? I don't know if you've ever thought about it, because a lot of times we talk about money, we talk about people being rich, but then there's talking about wealth. And so maybe that's something that I can get some interaction while I'm doing the presentation. If you have any thoughts on what wealth is, why don't you, maybe put your thoughts in the chat room on what you think wealth is, because it's important that we even understand what wealth is, because if we don't know what it is, how are we actually, going to obtain it? So it'd be nice to hear some of you say what you believe that wealth is. Okay, so I have some responses: net income, assets, accumulation of assets. Good. Okay, and so and that's good. Net worth, passive income, appreciating assets, a balanced portfolio. And most of these are definitely have a factor wealth to pass on to families. And so these are all good answers. And it's important because as you look at, these are some statistics that I pulled, and I apologize. I know I'm supposed to footnote who they're from, but I am letting you know that they're not mine. So, and I do have that if somebody really wants to know, and I lost my thing. But if you look at what they had said about the fact that with Black households at the end of 2019, real estate, pension entitlements were roughly 70% of what we call the assets. And the assets do have obviously a place with building up wealth. And whereas non-Black households were spread more evenly among 6 major classes. And when they say other classes, you're talking about equity funds, businesses, and things of that nature. And so we don't have the diversification. Basically, that's what it's saying. We don't have the diversification because when we think of building wealth, we only think of usually things like house, pension, your 401, maybe some money in the bank. But there's a lot of other factors that we also want to be, aware of. And when you look at what wealthier families, when you look at families that we call wealthier, they're in a position to where they can put their children in the schools that they want them to go to. They can get them the college educations. I mean, there's so many families that I know that aren't preparing for their child to go to college and, hoping that they get a scholarship. They have the capital to start a business. They're not having to go out and look for that capital because they have it within their own, families, or they've acquired that money. They are able to finance expensive medical procedures. Medical procedures are one of the main reasons why we file bankruptcy. And I don't know if you're aware of that. And that's despite the fact that we have medical insurance, because medical insurance does not cover everything. That they're able to reside in a higher economic, area, so to speak. The area that I'm in was a predominantly Black area. And now, unfortunately, it's in the process of being gentrified. And so now the prices, which are, interesting enough, now folk that aren't Black move in and prices shoot sky high. Why is that? But that's also plays a factor in us having the wealth that we should have, because there are other outside factors, health, various things. And so these are all things that, play a role when we have the type of wealth to be able to have the opportunity. Home ownership is something where when we're able to have home ownership, and this is, I put some, I got some statistics about just Black wealth, but then I also started talking about in terms of things that women felt would be, other women had said would help them in terms of acquiring wealth. And so these were some of the answers that were provided. And this was provided, I believe, in the Goldman Sachs report that they did on Black women and wealth. And it's about eliminating second mortgages. And being able to preserve more affordable housing, so you have the ability to purchase a home. People may think that a second mortgage is not such a big deal, but I'll just tell you a quick story. I have a friend that I grew up with, and his mother and my mother were teachers together, and so we all grew up kind of together as a result of us knowing each other since childhood. Well, when my friend's mother passed away, she had a small second on her property. And that small second was on a $1.2 million property. Now, you would have thought that the average person would have no problem in being able to figure out how to take care of a small, maybe $40,000 second on a $1.2 million property. My friend didn't have a lot of income. He's actually lived in Boston. The house is here in Los Angeles, but it wasn't shouldn't have been a big deal. But long and short, I won't tell you all the gory details, but he wasn't able to figure it out. he had a cousin supposedly come in and help him. And that situation where that cousin was supposedly helping him turned into where the cousin ended up with 40% of a $1.2 million property, which means he got over $400,000 for basically doing a little bit of nothing. And then talked the same person into investing the rest of his money into another situation with him, which means that now my friend had no outside monies that he should have had, and they were all tied up in properties that he had no idea what to do. And this was something his mother, who was very organized and had planned out, she thought everything, but was not able to sit him down and show him this information. And unfortunately, because he procrastinated, he didn't even open up all of the information that was available to him until years later, not just months later, years later. And so long and short, it got worse because unfortunately he ended up falling, and he's now currently a quadriplegic, and all of his money is tied up in some properties in Ohio that he has no real access. He gets a few $1,000s for rents, but he's now trying to figure out how he's going to take care of himself. And he started off with a $1.2 million property that just had a small $40,000 loan. So those types of things in education is just so key and crucial, because we try and pass down properties and assets to our loved ones. But when we don't provide them with the information that they need to have to know what to do with it, crazy things can happen. And, despite all the things I tried to do, in fact, just almost, I almost wanted to punch him at times, he was stuck on doing things his way. And he felt because he had never invested, I guess he was doing the right thing and didn't plan on the fact that obviously the health issue was going to come. So anyhow, the other answer that women gave was the fact of having a capital to be able to, in terms of this is women talking about their wealth, capital to be able to own, businesses, and to be able to be in a position where they're able to do have the types of access to monies that they will be able to use to expand those businesses. This slide is actually out of, I'm sorry, let me skip through. Okay. So I'm going to skip through this. So anyhow, these are the things that that as women, we have to be thinking, where are we in the scheme of things? Where are we in terms of not only our personal situation, but where are we in terms of how well we've educated our children? One of the things that really kind of burns me, so to speak, even though I know I don't have any children, but it's just hard for me to hear parents say, who have a lot of assets that they are planning on leaving to their children. When I am educating the parent, they're saying, and I ask them, well, don't you feel that your child should hear this information or should be aware? And they say, well, I don't think they're going to listen. Oh, they're doing their own thing or what have you. And so how do we say that they're doing their own thing when we're planning on leaving them sometimes millions of dollars in assets, and we're assuming that they're going to know how to take care of those assets? And when they don't, I'm sure all of us know people who had a loved one where a loved one passed and the children couldn't figure it out, just like I just explained about my friend, and those assets didn't go anywhere but to someone else, or they didn't pass on from that generation on down the line. And this is a big problem, because this is what happens in other cultures. And so we have to understand how to pass down what we have properly so that we can establish wealth. If we're saying that wealth is part of wealth is having homes, having home ownership, which obviously is a big factor, and we've been hindered by society in many ways from having homes. But those of us that have a home, we want to make sure that home is definitely doing more than just passing down to just one person. And so we have to be looking at how prepared are we for the future? When we get ready to retire, do we have the things in place that we're supposed to have in place? Do we know what that looks like? Because many times I'm dealing with people who only have thought about the fact that, okay, Social Security. Well, we know Social Security is not going to be there for everyone, or we should know that, because down the line, our children are probably not going to be able to have Social Security like we have. And if we leave it up to certain political decisions that are being made, that may happen even sooner than later. And then even if you look at the statement, it says that you're not going to have the ability to have Social Security at the same percentage, that 100% that we're receiving now of what they are saying. When we look at the statement that they don't even send out, we're looking at in 2036, I believe it is, that they're only going to have 77 to 78% available for everyone, not just future, but also if you're getting Social Security, your Social Security is going to be reduced. Are we prepared for that? Are we looking for Social Security to be our retirement plan, which it shouldn't be? Pensions pretty much don't exist for most people, and those pensions that do exist, even with the government, have changed quite a bit. And so do we think that pension is going to be all that we have, that we need? And then what about savings? Savings are something that, when we talk to people, most people don't have very much of a savings. I mean, we found that out when the pandemic hit, of how crucial it was to have that savings. And this is just where they're showing that without any changes to 2033, that 77 cents for each dollar will be available. So I was 3 years further down the line. It's actually saying 2033. And it kind of changes sometimes each year. I'm going to skip through some of these. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to change over all the slides. But the fact of the matter is that we have really got to figure out how to plan better when we talk about what we're going to be able to have for the future. And we can't just be relying on I'm going to stop sharing, and so I have you guys have to watch me go through all these slides. Relying on the fact that what someone else has put together is going to be all that we need. So what we're going to need to be thinking about is how diversified are we in what we have for our retirement? Have we done any planning on our own, or did we leave all the planning up to our job, or up to the government, or up to someone else? Sometimes husband and wives, only one spouse is really involved in the planning of what's going to be available. And so that's a very serious thing when you think about the fact that if a spouse passes away and the other spouse doesn't know, and that's definitely been something that's happened recently, where unfortunately, and this person was actually in New Jersey, and her husband passed away, and not only did she get the surprise that he had gone into her retirement account and changed names and changed information, which makes her have to go through now a longer delay in getting access. But there were all kind of lawsuits, including one from her mother-in-law, that were coming at her saying that he owed people money. And so she went from the nightmare of losing her husband suddenly from a cancer, to now the nightmare of dealing with all these horrific financial matters that she shouldn't have to do, including having to move out of the home that she was in to move in with her child. And so these are all things that, how much communication are we having among ourselves to make sure that these things are not happening, And so as we look at the fact that not only being prepared for a retirement, but we also want to look at the fact of right now, what is happening in regards to being prepared if something should happen and you're not able to do some of the daily living activities that, you're not able to continue to earn an income if you're still working that you're currently, earning. And now it's impacted because you don't have that income, and maybe you still have children that you're trying to get through school. Maybe you have older parents that are depending upon you for an income, because that happens quite a bit, where our parents unfortunately didn't prepare and we're trying to take care of them. But how can we take care of them if we're not prepared to take care of ourselves in our situation? And so that's something that you have to be thinking about. If I have a situation where where I can no longer work, do I have something in place? What is that going to look like for me and my family? Who is going to take care of me? Do I have a plan? Do I have any other type of vehicle that I've been able to find that was going to allow me to do that? And so one of those types of vehicles that most people don't even think about, especially in our culture, is the fact, and this is something that I have been fortunate to learn about, and I'm hoping that I can really hit home more with people understanding that one of the biggest financial vehicles that people overlook is insurance. Everybody thinks insurance is just simply I die, and when I say insurance, I mean life insurance, that I die and then the money gets left to my family, and it's only for that purpose. And so we have very little most times, because we don't even want to talk about it. We think if we talk about it, it's going to jinx it, and I may not be here because I'm thinking about it. I'm bringing it to life. And one of the things people don't think about the fact is, what is the first word when you talk about life insurance? And the first word is what? Life. So if the first word is life, why do we think about it as only being used for death? That is something that we have got to stop having in our mind, because of the fact that for one thing, life insurance is actually one of the best ways to not only protect what you have and protect your life, because you have now something that they call living benefits. And living benefits is a benefit that exists within the life insurance policies that most of us don't have. Sad to say, most of us don't have them. And we don't have them. Why? Because we get our policies from our job, we get our policies from our relative, we get our policies from the phone, or not the phone, the television, the Global Life, the Gerbers, and the various policies that don't have these types of benefits, and there's no one to explain that they exist. And so then we wait down the line, we get down the line, and now we're a little older and other things have happened, and we can't get new insurance. And so if you have an insurance policy that does not have the living benefits in it, you really need to be thinking about A, why? Because you're probably paying more money for it. And B, how do I go about getting that type of policy? Because it's that type of policy that when my friend, who is now a quadriplegic, that I begged him to listen and not put all of his eggs in that one basket, to get a policy that would have had that. He could have then been in a position where now, instead of lying in a rest home where he has poor care, and he can't even tell people about the fact that he has other assets because he's trying to rely on government assistance in Boston, that he would have had the ability to be able to take care of himself. And it's something that, many times when we talk to people, they always say, oh, I have insurance, I'm fine. Or they're thinking, okay, well, my kids, they don't need to worry about this. I don't need to tell them about this. They don't need to listen because they're young. Well, we were all young, right? And at some point, that age crept up on us. I mean, I can't believe that I'm 62. Well, I'm not even 60, I'm 61, getting ready to be 62. I can forget my age there, I guess, so old. But when you get older, it happens quickly, and you can't wait to make plans for when you get to this age. And so it's very important that we impress upon young people that this type of financial vehicle is very, very important. And it's something that wealthy people know about and utilize. It's a opportunity for people to be able to have a benefit that they pay very little into, because it's actually a benefit. It's not an extra amount of money that you would have to pay for this particular policy. And you're able to get a benefit that you would normally only get by having to pay an excessive amount of money, like maybe even in a long-term care plan. And so, you know, we need to know about this, and we need to pass this information on to our young people, because they need to be impressed upon the fact that you don't want to wait until something happens to think about this type of financial vehicle. And unfortunately, because we don't understand it, we don't utilize it. And so that's part of my role today, is letting you know it exists. And whether you decide to take advantage of you know, listening, of setting an opportunity to talk to myself or the next speaker about it in the future, or you go and talk to someone else, or you do your own research. I just want to make sure that everyone on this call is aware that this exists, because it's something that's very, very beneficial, and it's very, very necessary, and especially in light of all the things that I've seen with when we become older, and with the elders and our memory and the dementia and the various health situations that occur that are basically creating major problems, not only for those elders, but also for us, because we're the ones that are left to take care of them. And then many times we're coming out of our pocket to make sure that they're okay. But that doesn't have to be. Now, if you can do that, that's fine. But I don't think most people can afford to take care of not only their family, but also now have to take care of a loved one, and do it in a way where they're not going to really reduce what they had planned for their future. And let alone what's left of the legacy that they would leave behind. Because in many cases, if you did have a legacy, now you've had to refinance the house, you've had to liquidate the retirement, and there are all types of things that are going on that you didn't plan for, that now change the fact that you no longer have the type of resources that you thought, you know, that you would have. And so I hope that, you know, if nothing else, you'll take advantage of that. I'm trying to see if Lynn has gotten on the call. Let me see if she's on, because I'm getting ready to turn it over to her, because now we've moved from the fact that, you know, it's key that we accumulate the assets. It's key that we keep those assets, but it's also that we protect those assets. But it's even more important, after we protect them, that we are able to make sure that we preserve what we have. And that's how we really are able to achieve wealth, and have the ability to have wealth generated and that we can pass on. Let me see.
Oh, I don't see Lynn here yet, but you've got
Okay.
quite a few questions in the chats.
Okay.
You wanna,
I'm going to go ahead and I'll answer the question, and if not, I will cover what Lynn was going to cover as well. But I didn't want her to get the opportunity. So anyhow, let me go ahead and I can answer. Start answering.
Somebody's asking. They said they don't understand life insurance. So if you can tell the purpose of life insurance, and maybe the difference between term and life.
Okay.
Term and whole. I'm sorry, term and whole insurance, and which is appropriate for who and when.
Okay. The purpose of life insurance is to protect life, protect your life, and protect the lives of your family. Your life, in terms of the fact that you have the ability to have the living benefits that are now there, so that if something should happen while you're alive, where you become ill from a terminal illness, from a heart attack, from stroke, from the inability to perform 2 of the 6 daily living activities, which, you know, somebody with Alzheimer's might have that factor, or even from the COVID, where we have people who were no longer able to walk or do some of the things that they were able to do, that you're able to take advantage of a lump sum payment based on the fact that your doctor says you have this particular medical situation. And so that money is money that you're able to now determine how you want to use it. You don't have to say, oh, I need a medical bed, or I need a person to come in, or I need a porta potty. Those are the types of things that happen when you have just long-term care that you can say to the doctor, okay, I need this, but you cannot get that money going to you. It goes to the facility or whatever the company is that you're going to have to get that type of benefit from. Now, obviously, when you pass away, then it's for the fact that your family has that. But even if you're being alive, if you're alive, and whether you're have young people at home, or whether you're alive and have this type of ailment, and like I was just saying, you have a person who is elderly, and your money is going to have to go to help take care of them by the fact that this policy is in place that has living benefits. You're no longer having to worry about coming out of your pocket. If say it was a situation where your loved one needs someone there round the clock, but you have to work. So you have a choice. You're either going to pay someone else who may or may not do the job the way you wanted to, or you're going to maybe be able to, or you'll be able to take off of work and be there for your loved one because you'll have that money available to be able to do that. You know, that makes a big difference in someone getting better, especially if you know that maybe it's not going to be, you know, it's probably not going to be a permanent thing. You know, if somebody has a heart attack or a stroke, they're not going to be permanently disabled in most cases, but they're going to need some type of care that someone can provide. And what better person to provide it than yourself? Or even if you're the overseer of the provider, getting the best care, as opposed to having to get the person who's going to get paid the least amount. And usually you get what you pay for. You know, so if that person is going to charge you the minimum amount of money, they're probably going to do the minimum amount of care for your loved one, you know. And so after if you transition, then obviously life insurance is available to pay out a lump sum, and that money is tax-free. And so in cases, one of the things that I really
talk about how people use life insurance to pass on wealth to the families.
Yeah, I was getting that.
I'm sorry.
but that's good. I'm glad you've been paying attention to me. Oh, I love it. So as Helen was saying, the other thing that is probably of most interest is, I'm sure all of us know, or I've heard of, let's not know, but have heard of Disneyland, McDonald's, Walmart, Sam's Club. These are various wealthy, billion-dollar companies who were started by wealthy families. And one factor that they all have in common is they were able to either start it, or they used a good amount of money from a cash value life insurance policy to be able to create that empire. We're not doing that because we don't know anything about it. We don't know that there are cash value life insurance policies that allow you to get benefits where you can get compounding interest that will get you over that inflation hurdle, because many times, you know, we have our money's places where we're not having the ability to overcome the fact that inflation is 7 or 8%. If your money's in the bank, it's not. If your money's in a 401, it's not. Even our pensions. I don't know too many people who have pensions who are getting more than an average of 6%. And right now, all of those retirement products are very fragile because of what's going on in the market. And so when you have a cash value life insurance policy, you have a policy that can give you the opportunity to outpace inflation. You don't have to pay taxes on the money. You can actually borrow against that policy and not have to ever pay that money back, because it's what they call a wash loan. And you can accumulate wealth that will allow you to provide opportunities for college for your children, if you're, you know, or your grandchildren, you know, because many times we want to leave a legacy behind for our grandchildren. And it's very, very inexpensive to do versus having to come up with that money all at once. We can leave a small policy that will grow for a young child, and be able to provide them the opportunity to go to college. We could be able to supplement our income by having a policy that will give us an additional $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on an annual basis for our during retirement. But it's about knowing it exists, sitting down with someone that can show you how to do that properly, because everything that anyone does, you have to understand it, and you have to use it the right way, and it's not just about this is the only type of vehicle, but it's a vehicle that allows you to diversify what you have. So right now, where we have a lot of people whose 401s and other deferred 457 TSPs, all these deferred plans and IRAs and what have you are not doing very well, there's an opportunity to utilize an insurance product called an annuity that will allow you to offset what's going on in the market and not lose money, because that's very key. People don't realize that you're always told you have to lose money. You don't have to lose money to make money, but you have to know these vehicles exist and how to use them. And it's not to say that, we all have gone to financial advisors, and I'm not going to, deter anyone from saying that they shouldn't use their financial advisors or whatever, but the financial advisors have their role. But I'll just tell you, because I use a financial advisor, and I'll just tell you my experience. I was young, and I was trying to go for the gusto. And so when I left my job to go and participate with MATA, I had a pension, and I was in PERS, and I had over $100,000. Now that was back in 1998. So you can imagine, 1998, $100,000, that was quite a bit of money. And what did I do? I talked to my financial advisor. I said, hey, what do you think I should do? Should I move my money? Should I do some other things, what have you? And because there was an opportunity that you could move the money, and after you left the particular employment that I was at, you could move it. And yes, I could put it into another vehicle. And at that time, it was going to give me a better return. But mind you, when I left my employment, I was less than 40 years old. Fast forward, I'm now 60. I'm ready to retire. I ended up coming back after leaving work to a job that has a 401k. So there is no pension. It doesn't have a medical plan. And I even called PERS just maybe by accident, I didn't understand. And because all my money was moved out of PERS, I have no retirement. I have no medical plan until I get to the age of Medicare. If I leave once I left my employment, which I actually am in the process of doing. And that information was never shared to me by my financial advisor. And I didn't know it either. So I just basically listened to him, and I just thought that he was acting totally in my best interest. And so financial advisors are good, but they can only advise you on what they really understand. You have to also look at a big, broader picture, and you have to get educated yourself and understand more. Knowing what I know now, I know that a foundation of what I should have done with all the different things I did should have been that I should have utilized an insurance vehicle to get started, so that when I got involved in real estate, in stocks, in the various things, business, all the different things that I did, where if there was a risk involved, I would not have had to worry about my money, because I would have had this foundation in place. And if something happened, I could still fall back on that. And that's something that's so key. And that's something, if I don't get across to anything else, please understand, have some type of foundation in place. Okay. Ms. Cassie, you have a question? I'm sorry, Ms. Cassie? Cassie Norwood, you have your hand up?
Yes. I was trying to get my.
Oh, sorry, no problem.
I apologize. I was just thought you could also, I know you're selling this life insurance and an insurance policy program, and I understand most of what you're saying, but also there's other vehicles and documents that we need to also cover our finances. Your umbrella policies. A lot of people don't think of those as some way to cover your assets. Whether you got children or no children, especially if you got children, they're driving the car and there's an accident, your assets could be eaten up. And also just reminding all of us, a lot of us, we get these 401ks or 403bs and everything like that, is to remember to update depending on the state you're in, like Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, whatever name you put on there, you must change it if you are no longer married to that person, or you're no longer, your mother has passed away or something like that. And if you might have thought to do that when you were 20, but now here it is 60 years old and she's passed away, because people can't get your assets in the 401k if they don't have the right beneficiary name on the paperwork. So I was just going to just make that as a recommendation as we continue to talk about other things about how to secure your assets. This is what you're really trying to get over to us, is to make sure that we secure our assets and can build on our assets to make money, have money to make money, and more money. So
Yes, and and I appreciate you bringing that up, because all of those are very key points. But one thing I will kind of say, that you started off talking about me selling a policy. I haven't mentioned any particular policy that I'm trying to sell. I'm trying to educate people, because that's part of the problem. Anytime insurance is brought up, people think, oh, you're trying to sell insurance. Yeah, I want people to know about it. It's up to you to decide if it's important to you or not. But I will tell you, every wealthy person, from Warren Buffett to the past president that we don't want to even talk about, to all the different people, Jay-Z, all of them, they understand this information. We understand what is basic, is the common thing that everybody knows. Get your 401, get your pension, if you're able to, do certain things that is the typical situation. But that typical situation usually also leads us down to the typical result. And so by understanding how to incorporate life insurance into what we're doing, it's the same difference as, again, someone who is a financial advisor who is advising you to put your money into something that they're going to tell you that they can keep you from losing or do this or gain whatever amount of money, but the difference is, with life insurance, you don't have the risk involved in whatever that you're doing. There is no loss. And so if you want to take advantage of, obviously, extensive gains in the market in some of these other vehicles, you also want to have something safe that you can utilize to offset in the event that you do have a loss, or to protect what you have. Because the other thing about a life insurance is, again, it being tax-free income. So when you have tax-free income, it makes a big difference than when you're waiting for that 401 to mature and you actually are now at the age to get it. Do they tell you that you're going to have to pay taxes on that money? There are a lot of people who don't know that. So I just want people to understand the context of what I'm talking about. There's different types of products. Yes. Could I recommend that? Yes. That's if you decide that you want to sit down with me and understand more about it. My purpose is to help you understand how to get to the point where you have a solid foundation, to diversify what you have, so that you understand how to utilize more than just what most people do, which is real estate, the bank, stocks and things of that nature, and disregard something that is very key that we need to know about, because we're not using it in the right way. So anyhow, I don't know who was next, but did you know who raised her hand next?
Yeah, Ms. Dolman, Vanessa. Thank you, Ms. Norwood.
How you doing, Miss Higgi?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Juana, could you please, what I think that I heard you say was that when you had your 100K and your 401K, when you wanted to move it and you wanted to know what to put it into, your financial advisor is telling you to put it into investment properties, investments, stock plans, and you wish you had put it in life insurance. And I am not understanding why. I'm not understanding why you would feel more protected in a life insurance policy than you felt in your financial investments.
Okay, well, you kind of got the information, but it's not in the right order. The person that I was saying back in the day, I had a pension. It was my pension from PERS. And so my pension from PERS, when I was able to leave the job I'm sorry, when I left the job to go do something else, when I got involved in another activity when I was dealing with my top, the advisor knew that I would be able to move the money, because normally you couldn't use the money, move the money because of your age and because of what was happening, you know, in regards to, you know, penalties from taxes and so on. But he basically encouraged me to roll the money over into an IRA. And that IRA was doing very well at the time. And it made sense from the standpoint that if I was of the point of that I was going to retire shortly, and or I had something else, you know, that I could fall back on, that I could use that. But because I was young and because I had several years before I would be able to retire, and I was not going to, I didn't know whether I would have something else in place, and I never did put anything else in place, I then ended up not having a retirement plan now that I am of the age that I can retire, because once I moved my money, it was gone. And I trusted, because he was a financial advisor, that he knew what I needed to know, that I know now. And so what I'm saying is, as I went through all the different, dealt with the different vehicles, from the pension to now having a 401, which I didn't even know that that's what I had when I came to my job, because I'm thinking, because I came from a pension situation, I'm in another pension situation, you know, and maybe that was dumb of me, but I think there's a lot of people who just don't understand sometimes the different types of vehicles, because they don't do the best job on, you know, of explaining when you, with these different jobs. You know, they tell you to accept their plan, but here's the thing, they put you in a plan, and you're not the same as me. I'm not the same as the gentleman over there. I don't have a family. This person may have a family, but we're all put in that same plan when we come to work for a company. So you have to figure, how does that one same plan fit everybody? We have got to look at what else can we do to make the situation come out the way we want it to come to. We have to take more proactive steps. And part of that is understanding all of the financial vehicles, not just understanding that I can put my money into a 401 or have my money in a pension, because even people with pensions, I know now, I have a friend that has a pension. She's working in Vegas cleaning computers when the kids finish using them, because she's not sure her pension is going to last her, because our pensions do not. I don't know anybody who has a pension that's 100% anymore. You know, maybe you might be one of the last ones that have one, but the average pension I know is paying out about 40%.
Okay. So are you saying that the IRA that you got, that because I'm hearing you say that you would have done something differently. So you're saying that your IRA.
Can I just say, I wouldn't have done anything differently at that time, because I wouldn't have known. I listened to the financial.
No, but I mean, what you know now.
Yeah.
So are you saying that back then you would have still gotten the IRA, but not all of it? You would have put some into an insurance vessel? Are you saying that because your IRA did not perform well, you lost the money, and an insurance vessel would not have lost the money? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
What I'm trying to say is, and I think it's very easy just to even look at the market. Right now, the average person that we sit down and talk to has lost an average of 10 to 20% of their investment portfolio if it's been in the market, because of the way the market has gone pretty much more down than up, but up and down. And so what I'm saying is, if you understand how the types of insurance vehicles that are available today, one being an index universal life type life product, those products allow you to participate in the market gains, but not market losses. And so when you can participate in gains and don't participate in losses, that is going to right away put you in a situation where you're in a much better position than putting your money somewhere where no matter what you do, unless you put it in a situation where your money is fixed, you will not be able, you will have loss. And when people are losing 20% or and some people more of their retirement or their monies that they have set aside, that's not a good place to have all of your money.
So now that you are of age, now that you are into your retirement phase, is now a good time for you to purchase whole life insurance?
It's not whole life. And what we do.
It's
when we-
indexed universal life.
Yes, it's in the, because there is a difference. And so, and I, I'm trying to give you some concepts. So if you really want to understand more, people hopefully will take the time, because obviously everybody has a different situation, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on just one situation, but the products that are out now have kind of graduated. It's like you have phones that used to be the cell phones used to be those big old bricks, and now they've gone to these little small smartphones. Well, that's the same way insurance has. And most people, they upgrade everything but their insurance policy. I have people who have had insurance policies way back, since they were in, the 1900s. That's not going to be the same for you today, because they have upgraded. And most people don't know anything about that because they haven't taken the time, to find out. And so because they have policies that will allow you to get the gains of the market and grow your money in a better way than what you can do by putting it just solely in an investment account, because investment accounts are just that. They have risk and they have a lot of fees, and the products that we normally share with our clients do not have risk and fees. So when you understand that, then you want to at least look at what's available. And so what I'm saying to people is, you can look up what they call LIRP, L-A-R, a life insurance retirement plan. Even Forbes magazine lists that as something that you would want to have as part of your portfolio. So it's not information that I'm coming to you for trying to sell you on a particular policy or whatever. I'm trying to sell you on the fact that you need to understand a diverse amount of information, not just understand one way to do things, because most times we think, when we think of growing our money besides stocks, we think of real estate. Well, to be honest, I can show you how to do the same thing with a vehicle that's safer in regards to inside of a product that's involved with life insurance. But most people are not going to know that, and they're not going to be able to, and an investment advisor is not going to be able to talk to you about that, because first of all, they don't normally have even the same type of licenses to do that. And they're not interested because they're interested in fees. And that's what happened with my advisor. My advisor stopped speaking to me when my account went down from 6 figures to 4 figures. So, it's up to the person to become educated so that they know, it's not a matter of me trying to push anything on anybody. It's trying to just share the information, because all of this has to do with us being able to build wealth, protect what we have when we have it, and preserve it. And most times we don't have everything we need in place to do that. And the people that we talk to that feel that they're set, they have everything they need, many times, if you're in that situation, then you're probably paying a lot of taxes. And so why not offset those taxes? But who's telling you how to do that? What vehicle are you using to do that? Life insurance is the only vehicle that's going to allow you to be able to offset your money with the tax-free income, and to also be able to avoid risk. And I'm not saying anything that can't be Googled, researched, or what have you. And of course, there are different types of products. I'm not saying any particular product, because that's not my goal to sell you on this product, because I don't even know who you are in terms of what your family goals are and what you need. And that's the basis of what we do first when we talk to people. And that's how I got involved, because when I first got involved in what I'm doing, I'm sharing with you, it wasn't because this is something that I chose to do or that I knew anything about. I had a need. I had no money. I had been beat down by the stock market, the real estate market, and all the various types of investment opportunities and businesses and things that I had tried to do, trying to live that American dream. And no one had told me the right path to go. And no one definitely told me that there were other things that I could look at that would help me, so that when you do now go on that path to be able to do those investments, you don't have to worry, am I going to lose everything I have, because you have that foundation. And that's what I'm trying to basically explain. Diversify, and don't put all of your monies into one thing, because people who are wealthy, when we talk about building wealth, they are diversified.
Okay, yes, but is age 65 too old for this index fund?
Age 65 is maybe it's not too old. It's just going to depend upon the situation, because there's index funds and then there's index annuities. And so there's different types of vehicles. People right now, we call it the baby boomer dilemma. Most baby boomers think that they're in a situation where there's nothing they can do. But most baby boomers really need to be thinking about if they have done enough, because if you can move your money into a vehicle that will not lose money in, but will still allow you to extend the life of your money, does it not make sense to at least know about it and see if it's something that will work? I couldn't tell you from just, talking to you right now, whether that's something that will work for you, but I can tell you, if I sat down with you, looking at the overall picture, whether or not it's something that would make sense and help educate you so that you would also know, because that's key. You don't want anyone just to tell you something. That's what I had people do. Just tell me. And then that telling me only got me into more situations because I didn't know what I needed to know. And so my goal now is to make sure that if I sit down and talk to you about something, I'm answering your questions and making sure you understand, so you know why you have whatever it is, and you know how it's going to benefit you. And more key, that information is being passed on, because if you only know, what good does it do your family that you leave behind if that information leaves with you? I had a sister.
I think what I hear you saying, Wanda, there's no one answer, no one size fits all answer for this. And I can tell you all from personal experience that when she sits down with you, she will look at your situation individually. And I did not feel that she was partial to one instrument over another. She's gonna tell you, or company for that matter. So I appreciate the question, Vanessa, but let's move on. Laura, I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Hey, Helen, thank you. And I apologize in advance because I did tune in late, so you may have discussed this, although just following up on the last question, maybe not. Two questions, though, in light of what you said about your PERS pension. So I'm in a PERS system currently, and as far as I know, we're covered where our pension is promised till, we pass on. And we even have the option of leaving some of that to our beneficiaries, whomever. So I'm wondering, for the young people in the room, because you don't know the age of the audience, I'm just wondering if you had that decision to do again, given that PERS, and I don't know which PERS system you retired from, and I don't know if they all operate the same. This is not my question, but it was follow-up as a result of your discussing this. Would you make the same decision? Because I think back then, at least the state of New Jersey, medical insurance was free once you had 25 years in. So would you make that same decision today? Or would you just leave it there?
And that's what I'm saying. And I said that mostly to also kind of emphasize how the fact that a lot of people will say what their financial advisor has said to them, because my financial advisor was key in me moving my money. And so, no, I would never made that decision knowing what I know now, because again, I would have had a pension. I would have had medical benefits right now.
Yeah.
But because I didn't know, and I relied on someone that I felt was an expert, I ended up not in a situation I had. But what I will say, and I'm glad that you do have a pension, that even though you have a pension, very few people do, for one, and that's by on purpose, because in the 1980s, they realized that most people are living way longer than they thought. Back in the day, I don't know if you remember, because I used to remember watching the black and white, and I'm dating myself, the black and white, televisions with Mr. Leave It to Beaver and whatever, and and they would retire, and they left this life, just of leisure and retirement. But what we didn't understand is they weren't living very long after retirement. And so as they started living longer, and because of health, medical improvements and technology and all the different things, then it became increasingly hard for employers to be able to pay. Because I know I have a friend whose aunt who just passed not too long ago. She was in 100. She had 100% of her salary, and she used to work for Hallmark.
Wow.
And I don't think anybody, for one, is going to get 100% of their salary. Most people, I think the most that I know of, if people are getting maybe up to 80%, but even getting 80% with inflation changes and various things, will that or will that not be enough?
Right.
And most people are even in that situation. So yes, if you're in a pension, I would never tell anybody to change from their pension and do something different. But sometimes we don't have that choice. And also, I don't know if I was in the LA Unified School District PERS program, but also I don't know if you remember that there was a time that PERS had gotten into some very serious financial situations. Okay, and so a pension doesn't mean, even though it's supposed to be guaranteed. I have a cousin who was in Texas, and she lost her pension because of different things that happen. I have a friend that works with the AME church, and there are some AME pastors and staff members who no longer have a pension because somebody did some unscrupulous things. So unfortunately, you know, pensions are good and they do exist. But again, what I'm saying is you don't want to leave that preparation for your future and your financial future to any one financial vehicle and to any one situation. You want to diversify. So in the event that something happens that we never thought, I mean, who thought the government would shut down and people would lose the type of incomes that they had for, you know, months and have that type of situation? I mean, once you had a federal job, everybody thought you're set. You know, and so things happen that we don't anticipate, and if we don't prepare for them, because they don't ever happen, you know, once in life. I mean, my friend is a paraplegic. Who would know that he would fall and this type of situation would happen? We just have to prepare. You can't just always depend upon one thing happening. And we have to know that because a person says something, we have to also know what that person's saying, a little bit more about what that person's saying, and look at the overall picture. And that's why what we do, I believe, is so valuable. And I'm saying all this only because I was in that situation. I've lived through this. And, you know, and when I sat down and heard this information that I'm sharing with you, it was because it was free. I didn't have any money. I wasn't trying to lose any money. I'd done it all. I couldn't do anything else. All I felt was I could do was just work myself till I couldn't work anymore. And that was it. And when I learned the information and I saw how valuable it was, that's when I got interested in sharing it. Because as I already said, I left my job to talk about economic development in our communities across the country, you know, years before that. You know, so I literally gave up my life, my 6-figure income. That's how I got in the situation really in the first place. You know, so I care enough about people to leave my job, and I care about people now to try and at least get them educated on information. And more so than anything else, I want the young people to hear this information, because young people are going to follow even though they think that they're doing something different. I won't tell you how many they'll get that 401 and they think they're set. And we know that most of them are not even going to stay at that job long enough to even benefit from that 401. And unfortunately, when we look down the lines, most of us probably won't be here, from them moving from job to job to job. And in spite of design, these companies love the fact that they're not going to stay very long because they don't have to worry about paying them. And then what are they going to have if they're not saving their money into some type of vehicle that's going to give them some type of opportunity to have the type of retirement and monies that they're going to need?
For the young people who are on the call, talk about vesting and what that means and how long it usually takes and why they should stick around to do it.
Helen, before she goes on to that, can I just ask my question? Because that was just a follow-up to your question, your disclosure. But my real question is, I am over 65 and I have a chronically ill daughter who I have to provide for. And so what vehicles are available to people my age? That's one question. And I guess that's part A. And then part B is, I used to hear financial advisors speak of long-term care insurance. Is that also something that should be part of your financial package? And is that still available, financially available for someone around my age? Thank you. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. In regards to the situation of I'm sorry, repeat the very first question again.
I have a chronically ill daughter. I'm in my mid 60s. Yeah. Well, probably later than mid, probably closer to almost 70.
We're pretty much the same, almost the same age.
Okay, all right. I'm 68. I don't even know why I'm dancing around it. I'm 68, and I have to provide for my chronically ill daughter. So what vehicles are available for me to provide for her? And is long-term care insurance something that makes sense for
Okay.
people my age?
Okay, so in regards to being able to provide for your daughter, that's going to be really dependent upon your situation, you know, in general. And so obviously we would have to know what type of, what you already have available, what you're doing, what you have in terms of your income, and what type of discretionary monies you have to do anything else with. Sometimes there's vehicles that we can redirect your money into, because that's what I did when I was starting out in this quest, so to speak. I didn't have any money, but I did have monies that I was spending on things to take care of myself, because I knew that I, as a single person and no children, would have to figure it out. And so I redirected what little bit I had into a better vehicle. And so sometimes that's what we can do, but it really was going to involve us sitting down and looking at your personal situation to tell you. But at the age is a factor, but it's not as big a factor as knowing, you know, the full picture and what your goals are and what we can do based on your situation. In regards to the other situation of
Long-term care insurance?
long-term care, I'll just tell you that I had a long-term care policy before I found out about the types of insurance policies that exist now. And for me at the time, I found that it was better for me and I'm saying for me, because I did the research, I did call the company, and I found out what that long-term care plan was going to offer. It was through, I think, Genworth. And for the same amount of money that I was going to get in terms of the face value of that plan and what they would provide, I was able to get a much better return, I felt, from having a life insurance policy that had the living benefits. And again, living benefits do not cost money. They're the benefits that are part of these new policies that most of us don't know about. And so in many cases, that's the option. Now, if you could have both, if I could have both, and at this point that I'm at, I could have both. Yeah, I would do both. But if I could only have one, I really feel that a life insurance policy that gives you the living benefits and has the other features built into it is going to give you a better value. But again, that's, everybody's situation may be different, but that's just, my take on it. And I would tell you, I had my godmother, who I took care of till she passed away this couple of years ago, and she had a long-term care policy, and she waited until the age of 90 because she couldn't stand, but she had problems paying money, period, because she just didn't like, she had all the money in the world, but didn't want to pay any money out. And she canceled that policy at 90. Well, she lived till she was 95, and she didn't end up having to really need the type of care that she needed until she was 92. And to be honest, it would have been better for her, even though it was costing her more, to have kept that policy than to have put me and her through what we went through trying to get her care later on, because obviously care is more expensive now because she has more things going on with her and she needs more round the clock care, but she still doesn't want to spend any money. But she would have spent less because she would have had this policy. And so it's good if you can have both, but if you could only have one, and that's the decision that I, again, made, that's a good option, for people to be able to have something that they can like kind of combine into one, lack of a better word, one-stop shop.
Am I too old to get that kind of life insurance policy?
I would have to really sit down with you and see, because again, this is based on life insurance. And so one of the things I will say, one of the factors that does come into play is that it's based on health factors as well. And so I wouldn't be able to tell you, specifically until I sat down with you, until we were able to have you look at what may be good for you. One of the things that we do is that we focus on the person and the situation. We obviously have to deal with financial institutions, which are life insurance companies, but that's secondary. We deal with multiple companies, and we don't place you in a company based on the fact that we want to sell you a product. We place you with a company based on what they provide and based on your needs. And I don't know if most people look at their 401s or even their pensions, but if you look at those pensions, those 401s, you look at the the mix of the different products that are in those vehicles, you'll find out that most of them are actually backed by life insurance companies, and most of our banks are backed by life insurance companies, because life insurance, again, is one of the safest vehicles that people can put their money. It's just that we unfortunately are not understanding that. And you say life insurance, people think, oh, I'm trying to sell you a policy, so if you die and it's not going to do but very little for you, and that's just not the case.
So we
Thank
have
you.
another hand, Caroline.
Thank you for taking my question. I was about to put it in the chat. I have want to go a different route. Can you talk about the benefit of putting real estate in a trust or creating an LLC as another vehicle of protecting assets? Thank you.
I can talk a little bit on that. I can actually suggest that, and I'm not so I'll give you a disclaimer. I do not do trust, but I have actually had people who do trust and have had to go through a lot because I was a trustee of my godmother's estate. But I have had a trust or estate planners speak on how to properly use a real estate in a trust, and how it's key how you have that that trust, how you can designate the real estate and also even an LLC. So there's different types of factors, and I'm not the best person to speak on that, but I know that there are definitely benefits, but there's also certain ways that you want to do that as well, because the estate planner that I actually am going to be using for the things that I want to do, because I want to create a foundation, point out a lot of things that I had never thought of. And having gone through a lot, especially in the state of California, it's a whole different situation out here when you talk about trust and what you go through, even if you're the good person. And so you have to really know. And so whoever you deal with, I would just suggest that you find someone that really can give you the proper understanding of that. But I do know that it is a benefit to do that, but there are different types of ways that you can. I'm just not the person, and I'm not going to, tell you something about something that I don't have enough information to really, expound on.
That's a good response. Here's a question in the chats. How can I use life insurance to lower my taxable income?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One, putting your money into life insurance when you're, as opposed to putting money into other vehicles, automatically gives you that alternative, because you're not going to pay taxes on those gains. And so if you're trying to save money to do certain things, like if you're trying to, and it just depends upon, the situation and how you're trying to do it. But because under the insurance code 7702, and anyone can look that up, in insurance code 7702, money that is in a life insurance policy that grows is not taxable income. And so there are definitely, other ways that you can, do things with it as well, and different strategies. And those are things that, we even, and that's what I like about the team that I work with. We also have CPAs and other people who actually utilize these different vehicles. And so if there's something that you want to do that, I myself personally can't do, and I'm sorry, I guess Lynn got tied up, as I really wanted her to be on to talk about some of the other experiences she has as a retirement specialist. But again, there's different ways that you can definitely utilize life insurance under that tax code 7702 to be able to offset your taxable income. The other thing is, if you think about the fact, depending upon what your state is doing, what type of estate you have and the type of taxes you may end up leaving, how are those taxes going to be covered? If your heirs are left to have to pay taxes on your estate or go through probate, whatever, what covers that? That money is going to come from somewhere. And so you can actually utilize insurance to be able to offset that factor. That's one key. I have a friend here in the state of California, and I don't know, because I don't know all the different types of laws in terms of that, but because his estate is the size that it is, his heirs are going to have to pay quite a bit in insurance. And so, in taxes. And so an insurance policy is able to be utilized then to provide him with a very more reasonable way to cover those taxes than to have to liquidate properties and so on and so forth, because the money has to come from somewhere. Is there any, if that answer your question?
Okay, I see Annette has her hand up. Go ahead, Annette.
Thank you. Yes, I have
Love
put my
that picture.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know I put my question in the chat, but I know there's a lot of questions in the chat. So I just wanted to ask.
Oh.
I was looking at, me and my husband were looking at financial advisors recently, and then I guess got kind of like scared because it was like, we need your social security number. We need your both of your social security statements, every financial statement, et cetera. So I'm like, do they need all the information?
They need the information now. Well, in terms of the Social Security, that would come down the line because, anytime you're dealing with financial institutions and you're also, and you're talking about retirement, but you're also talking about federal and government and things of that nature. And so there are regulations that require, once you actually apply to put in an application for something, but initially you will need information about, your age. You're going to need to know how much is there, what type of vehicle it is, because it does make a difference. And if you don't know the type of vehicle that the person's talking about, you may advise them something that they can't do. And then you need to know the amount of money, because if someone's going to try and tell you what they can do, it's very hard for them to do that without knowing exactly what they're working with. So I know it's scary, but most people who deal with that, including even though I'm not a financial advisor, I am. My license is actually a life and annuity license. We all are bound by the fact that we have to follow the state regulations, and if we don't, there are definitely penalties, and we all should be carrying insurance if we do, by some chance, hopefully by accident, misstep, to be able to help cover any issues like that as well. So hopefully, if you're dealing with somebody, you want to find out, are they licensed? And, if you're not comfortable per se, then look up the information on them. They should have that information with the state that you're in. And no matter, like, I'm in California, but I'm licensed across the country in various states. And I have to follow the compliances of all those different states. And if I don't, then there are definitely repercussions. And so there are things in place to make sure that, your money and your information should be safe, because that's also, you're not, once you're an advisor of that nature, your information that you share is also under ethics. You have to keep that information, within, the circle that you're supposed to be sharing it with.
So what are some, somebody's asking, what are some of like the screening questions that we should be asking potential financial advisors, or just people who are, are you licensed? Are you bonded? Is there some fiduciary accountability? How does that, what should we be asking?
Well,
Looking for
me, because to be honest, I don't deal with, half of my experience, I really don't deal with a lot of financial advisors, but in terms of.
Well, just people in the industry, period.
I'm getting ready to say the obviously you want to know if the person.
Anybody who's handling your money.
If the person, first of all, anyone that deals with your money in that way should have a license. And so you can easily find that out by going to whatever state and looking up the Department of for my situation, the Department of Insurance, but each there's different, you could Google probably financial advisors for state of whatever, and they would have a license to be able to conduct business in for particular products that they sell. In addition, you want to look at the company. If they're independent, how long they've been around, who they've worked with, and you probably wouldn't want to me, if you're going to be dealing with a significant amount of money and you're going to be talking to someone that how did you get that? How did you find the person? I would really want to probably talk to someone that someone else has been dealing with and has had experience, with over a period of time, because it's really even not enough to have dealt with somebody for a year, because to be honest, the products that we deal with, it takes a year before they even start to show any significant type of growth or any change where you can even know whether something's gone good or bad. And so I had a girlfriend that called me up the other day, and she was very, very mad at her financial advisor. Now, I didn't tell her I was trying to help you long before this, and you blew me off, and then you went to this person, but now you're coming back to me and asking me, to help you. But really what she was asking, there wasn't any need, because that person, these products have surrenders on them a lot of times, meaning that they're long-term products, and you do have penalties if you lose the money early. Just like if your 401s, your pensions, you can't just take money out and not suffer consequences, because they're set up to grow the money so that you can have the returns. And so it wasn't properly explained. That's the only thing she really could be mad at. And maybe it was, and maybe she just didn't pay attention. And so that person, you want to be comfortable that that person has dealt with someone else and they're comfortable with the information, and they don't feel that there's a lot of unknown stuff that's going on with whatever they're telling you, and you're not clear on the type of product, what that product does. When you try and call them, they're not returning that person's call. So if this person is not getting their call returned, they're not going to return your call. And so, in this world where we can go online and look up, most times if there's something bad enough about a person, they're going to put it online. And so that's another thing. Look online and see, have they had bad reviews? And I'm not going to say, though, that a person who has one bad review is a bad person to deal with, but you want to look, if there's multiple, bad reviews, that is definitely something you want to take in consideration before I would do business with them.
All right, we have another hand up, Miss Amatullah Day. I hope I said that right.
Yes, you did say it right. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask in reference to a friend of mine who is on a fixed income. She's ill, and so she receives SSI. She couldn't be on, but what is the effect of getting life insurance? Are you allowed to get life insurance when you are on subsidized income? And how does it affect your status?
That's something that it would obviously depend upon the particular person's situation. I do know that if you are if your income is a certain amount, they don't want you to be in a position where you're going to have the potential to earn a lot more. And so, the ability to get a cash value life insurance policy may be hindered. However, I know that there are also ways about it, around it. Someone else, and I'm not saying to do something, illegal or anything, but because you're in a situation that you may have a fixed income where you can't do certain things, you have other family members that can do it for you, and so, and because unfortunately I know fixed incomes, and I've had to deal with that before. I had a gentleman, and he was going to basically, he wanted to buy insurance for his loved one, but he was concerned that if they found out that he was buying insurance, there would be a problem. And so, I basically suggested, why don't you set up an account with that loved one to where the money is coming out of that account. And so that person is actually taking care of the insurance, that you're getting for them through that account. You're just providing them with the money for it.
I see.
So that's one of the ways that you can possibly get around it or what have you. But, there are some limitations.
One other, thank you so much for that information. One other thing I just wanted to mention, it's not a question, but as a group of intelligent Black women, and this is a very large group, we really need to be thinking along the lines of forming an insurance company to protect Black women, because as we know, someone mentioned, look what happened to Enron, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and so on and so forth. A lot, this is an experimental process we live in, not to get too far off the subject, but, we look back over our history where we had our ancestors that owned property and it was taken from them or whatever. But we need to always have in the back of our minds how to protect ourselves by building our own financial institutions and insurance companies, just so that we can look out for each other.
You know, on that note too, can you address the importance of once you get to a certain age, the risk of having your property in your name? You need to be rolling it over to someone else so that in the event that there's a crisis in your life, that you won't lose it, because it's different in each state, you know, and I don't know what the period is called, but you know, I could put everything in your name today. I could get hit by a car tomorrow. And depending upon what state I'm in, they're going to say, too bad, you had to wait 2 years or 3, which is just ridiculous that there's this grace period because you have no way of knowing. But also on that note, I remember having dinner with like 3 friends who all had children. And I was sharing with them, like, you know, we're getting to the age where you guys need to be putting your homes or whatever in the names of your children. And not one of those parents, not one, was comfortable enough to, with their kids. They didn't feel comfortable that their kids would do the right thing by them. And they were nervous about even talking about putting their assets in their children's names. So, but those are issues.
That's a very real issue.
Okay, so before I talk about that, Helen, I do want to say one last thing to the sister when she was talking about, you know, forming our own financial institutions. There is actually a situation where we talk about being what we call being your own bank. And that's something that utilizing insurance you actually can do. We have families that are actually coming together and using insurance to be able to fund the various projects that they want to do, or to create the opportunities for themselves and their future heirs. And so that's something that we need to really, you know, look at, and because it's something that's very doable. It's something that can be done. It's something that is not that hard and doesn't require a whole lot of money to get started with. And it's something that if we teach one generation to do it, it can be passed on and continued and become a very valuable tool that we can utilize, because it's just what's happening with other families. And in fact, when you put your money into a bank, what are they doing? They're taking your money, using it to fund other projects, but charging you exorbitant amount of interest if you want to get a loan for any of your projects. And so we don't, you know, we want to turn that around, and we can do that.
And one other thing.
Hold on, Miss, we need to move on because it's getting late. So
Okay,
please
let me
answer that question. And also I want to encourage you, Wanda, to start putting your information in the chat while you still have a healthy number of people on this call, because I strongly recommend that while this call is informative, it's simply to educate and alert you. You all need to be, if you're interested, you need to be talking with Wanda or Wanda one-on-one to get information on what's best for your situation. So I just wanted to put that out there before it gets too late in the call, because we're about to end soon.
Okay, thank you very much. And Lynn did actually join. I know she's not going to be able to talk too much because we're toward the end. Unfortunately, she got caught longer on a previous call. But just to quickly answer your question or what you talked about, Helen, in regards to changing property into someone else's name before that person gets to the point where they have to start worrying about the government coming in and taking over because they need certain resources. That's also something that can be handled by making sure that that person does estate planning with and puts and has a trust. If they have property of that type of nature, that are assets that they or have that concern, they really need to be doing estate planning, so that there's various types of ways that you can, so to speak, shield, because this is what white folk are doing. I mean, I had one person, and he's not white, but he was an Arab gentleman that I spoke to, and he has a wife that's in Sweden, And he's already talking about, because of what he sees going on with the government right now, moving his money to Sweden, and so this is how they think. And so we have got to start being aware of what the wealthy think about. This man has millions of dollars and he's involved in insurance or whatever. But, and so if he's thinking that way, why aren't we? We're only thinking on the average level. But anyhow, I'm going to let Lynn just come in really quickly just to say just a little bit, and I will start putting my information in the chat. And thank you, Lynn. And just a little bit about Lynn. Lynn is a retirement specialist of over 20 years in the actual industry, where she worked with major retirement funds for major companies. I'm going to let her explain it. And so she has a wealth of information. And so those persons that do want to really understand more about what you can do, especially at an older age. And that's why I wanted to have Lynn on, that she is the person that, I team with to help you know more about what the various avenues are, because she has experienced a lot through her years. So go ahead, Lynn, and share a little bit about your background, and then, maybe be able to answer a couple of questions before we close out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Wanda, Ms. Helen. I apologize for my tardiness. I had a seminar prior to this one that went much over. So as Ms. Wanda said, my background is in retirement planning. I've been in the industry for more than 25 years, and in retirement planning, I've worked in every area. So I've worked in the investment services and asset management area. I've did the record keeping. I've also been the plan administrator and pension administrator and advisor and specialist. So with regards to retirement planning, we want to understand how our various retirement plans work and how can we utilize them to best benefit us. Now, for some that may think they are behind the 8 ball or late on planning for retirement, there is something for everyone. So we do have some financial vehicles that you can utilize to help you to plan for retirement. My role, as Ms. Wanda probably shared in the very beginning, is that we help you to save, to grow, and preserve. So we want to help you to make sure that you can plan accordingly. So not just for today, but also in the long term, and be able to transfer down generational wealth. So if there's anyone looking for avenues or ways to be able to transfer generational wealth, this is where I come in with assisting Ms. Wanda in helping you to understand where you are right now financially and what's the goal that you're trying to reach, and how do we bridge any gaps in your plan. Right. And so that's what I'm here to do. There are various avenues and various financial instruments that we can utilize to help us to plan for retirement. And absolutely, you all can have that. Right. And as Ms. Wanda was sharing, there are things that the wealthy utilize that we did not know about today. And so because we've gotten our hand on this information, we want to be able to share it with everyone that we come in contact with. So we can definitely help you to utilize those same exact strategies, and you don't have to have millions and billions of dollars to do so. Ms. Wanda?
Yes. Okay. Then can you maybe talk about a little bit about what we do in regards to more about retirement in terms of rolling over and helping people in current time relating to the baby boomer dilemma?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So what's happened with our retirement system, right? Our 401k plans, our Social Security. Remember, Social Security is never intended to be our only source of income in retirement. It is a supplement. What is now happening is that these systems are failing. The 401k plans with the fluctuation of the stock market is losing money. Can Lynn leave us with say one thing we should be doing? Okay, sure, absolutely. With the 401k plans, right, they're in the stock market, so the market is fluctuating. Okay, so the Social Security we know is going to eventually have a deficit, and it's not going to be enough to pay out what we are to receive in Social Security. So this baby boomer dilemma is we are speaking to baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964. They are right now ages 58 to 76, going to be 57, 59 to 77. And so we're helping them to understand that if you have monies that you have been saving for retirement in a financial vehicle that is variable and at risk of loss, we have the instruments that we can put your finances into so that you can actually grow money and have the protection on the downside if the market crashes, but also provide you with upside growth and gains, right? So we have those financial vehicles to allow you to be able to roll over retirement money. And when I say retirement money, not just your 401ks and your 403bs and your thrift savings plans and your individual retirement accounts, but maybe you have money that's set aside in the bank that's not getting a high interest rate of return. We can help you with that as well. Or maybe you got a settlement from somewhere and you're like, what do I do with this money? We can help you to put it in a vehicle that's going to give you a lot of growth as if it was in the stock market, but protected on the downside, right? And so these products come through insurance companies. Remember, insurance companies are designed to protect us and to protect our money. And so most investment managers and financial advisors do not talk about these products because they have no experience with them. We have a vast amount of experience with the companies that offer these products, and we can help you with regards to protecting your retirement income and ensuring that you have income for your lifetime so that you don't run out of money. That's the preservation. That's what we do, making sure that you have enough money for your lifetime and that you never run out of money. And whatever is left can still be transferred down through generational wealth transfer to your heirs and beneficiaries. Does that cover it? And then I think someone asked the question if I could touch on what you should be doing in retirement. Well, I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this. I can't remember. I think it was Miss Judy put that in the chat box. If you are currently working with an employer and you have a 401k retirement savings or 403b, then what you do want to do is you want to contribute to the plan up to the maximum in which the company will match. If your company is giving a matching percentage or matching dollars, you want to make sure that you are contributing to that because that is free money, right? You don't pass up the free money. Anything above the matching dollars, remember your retirement savings accounts are pre-taxed. So anything that goes into those accounts will all be taxed. So the initial amount, which we call your seed, and the growth, the interest, the harvest will be taxed. So we would say that you contribute to the plan up until what the company matches. Anything above the match, you want to redirect that to a financial vehicle that is tax advantage. So if Ms. Wanda talked about the tax advantage vehicles, we can talk about that, or we can meet with you one-on-one to talk about the varying tax advantage vehicles that you have. So you just want to redirect because you don't want all of your money heavily taxed on the back end in retirement, because that's when you're going to need all the money, right? Most people think they need less money in retirement when you actually need more money because inflation and taxes continue to go up. Right? So we won't need all of the money in retirement. We say redirect anything over the company match so that you can have some tax advantage or some tax-free money later on in retirement. And then it looks like Ms. Laura Bryant, do you have a question, ma'am?
I do not. I would just ask you to please put your information in the chat because Ms. Wanda is absolutely right. We older folks, and I'll just speak for this older folk, I really need to speak with you. But I raised my hand actually because my sister-in-law, Serena, has a question but couldn't raise her hand.
Okay, Miss Serena.
I think I'm muted. I'm sorry. If you ladies also talk to young people who are on this call, because you mentioned about young people who are job hunting. I mean, look, we don't even think about this stuff until we're too old. So if you could talk to your younger self, Lynn, what would you have wanted to know? I mean, you may already, I'm assuming that I'm sorry, you're probably still young. But
no, ma'am, I'm middle-aged.
And then, job, and we know that this generation is job hopping. How does that affect them? What are the considerations that they should be making? What should they be carrying with them? Should they be cashing in those policies or letting them roll over? Like, talk to the young folks who are on this call.
Yes, absolutely, young people. So number one, the sooner you start planning for retirement, the better, right? So if you're a young person and your employer offers a retirement savings account, you definitely want to contribute to that. But you also want, like we tell our seasoned individuals that are on here as well, you also do want to have some tax advantage. The goal is that you understand how to have your money fully diversified. See, most investment managers and financial advisors are going to tell you to diversify your finances, but they don't tell you to diversify the taxes within the financial portfolio. And then with regards to going from job to job, here's what I will tell you. I, as a young adult, actually went to college, left college, went back as a more experienced employee at the time before becoming self-employed to obtain my advanced degrees, right? But what I will say to you, if you are as a young person, you know, because you will have multiple careers and multiple jobs as young people, right? Because our interests change, you know, get bored with what we're doing. What I would say is that when you are working before leaving, grasp as much information and as much knowledge from that career that you're in that you can. The reason why I have been able to have a long and successful career in retirement planning is because whenever I left an employer, I always went into another area of retirement planning to learn as much as I could to become really my best secret weapon and advocate around retirement planning. So there's not much people can tell me about the industry and how to retire and plan properly for retirement, right? Because I've worked in every area. So I know how the plan administration works. I know how pension plans work. I know how annuities work. I know how record keeping works, right? I know what is required, you know, takeover plans, we call them. Investment services. I understand stocks and bonds and mutual funds and hedge funds and real estate and insurance inside of your retirement portfolio. So what I would say for young people, as you are job hunting and going, find that thing that you are most passionate about. What is the thing that you're most, I didn't know I was going to be as passionate about retirement and finances because I just kind of stumbled into the industry as a young adult, right? So find that thing that you are most passionate about, the thing that you like, that just lights your fire. And, you know, and when you talk about it, you can feel the passion and it comes out. That thing is probably the thing that you are supposed to be doing. So now I say, whenever you can, you connect with someone either in that industry or an organization or someone that can mentor you, and so that you can learn everything about what's happening. See, I went back to school to get an advanced degree because I wanted to run the company that I was working for. I was like, I'm going to be the CEO of this company, right? But again, there was nobody looking like me to pull me up and say, we're going to help you. You're going to ride with us and we're going to make sure you're in that position, in that role. It wasn't the case, right? It was people who didn't look like me. Right? It was, you know, Caucasian males and women. And I was told there was no place for me, which is why I started my own company. Right? And so if there's not a place for you at the table, go create your own. Right? That's what me and Miss Wanda did. Just create our own space. And so you want to just, but again, get as much as you can from each of those areas and find that one thing and then learn everything about it.
But my question was more, so I work for IBM. I have this great 401 or whatever. And now I leave, I go to, you know, Walmart. What do I do with the instruments that I was already dealing with? Do I leave them? Do I cash them in? Like, what are we doing? That's the question that I have, because I think young people are moving a lot. So we need to, go ahead.
Yeah.
That was the question I really had.
Okay, Miss Helen, thank you. So no, you do not leave it there. You always want to take your money where you can control it, right? And so what does that mean? That means that you are going to take that money and you're either going to roll it over to your new employer or roll it over into another plan that you are going to control yourself. Ideally, you roll it into another plan that you are going to control yourself, because now you get to control the type of vehicle it is, and you control the losses and the gains, rather than just, you know, don't ever cash them in. You're right, Miss Helen, because if you cash them in, you're going to have the tax implications. So you will have you will be taxed on it as ordinary income if you cash it in. So move it out and control it yourself. Does that, Miss Helen, answers your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't, you're young, it doesn't sound like a lot of
Mhm.
money. You're like, I can use this
Yeah,
$5,000 or whatever.
exactly.
it is. And you
Right?
feel like, I don't
Exactly.
care, give it to me. And, I
Mhm.
think if you
Mhm.
just leave it there, my experience has been, if you just leave it there and forget that you even have it. Although I've had companies reach out and they're like, you have so much time to get this out of here. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Mhm.
I don't know. If I were talking to my younger self, that would be a question that I would have, like, should I have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't take it out, right? Move it to either, don't leave it with that company either, right? Because the companies go through changes and they change investment advisors and investment managers and record keepers that are managing the money for you. They change that all the time, right? Because they're always looking at how do we decrease any fees that we have, right? Because most of the fees as our money is invested comes off of our money. But then there's also admin fees, and the companies don't want to pay that. And so they're always looking at who's going to give us a better rate, who's going to, do certain things for us, and what can we get out of these companies. So when you leave your money behind, then you're leaving your money. You don't know who's managing that, right? You have no say on that. And so I never say leave the money with the company. When when you leave, you take your money with you, but you roll it over into your new company's plan, or you put it into an individual plan that you can manage yourself.
That answers my part two of the question, because a lot of these young people are going to work for themselves. So that's where you say, put it into an individual plan, right?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
as a self-employed person and entrepreneur, you should have your individual retirement account or your Roth individual retirement account. Both Miss Wanda and I can, if there's any questions around that, we can also help you with that. But yes, you should have, as a self-employed persons, you should have your individual retirement account. You have to save for retirement. And young people are making a lot of money, and they're spending a lot of money. You gotta save. You gotta save. You gotta save. Both. You
That's
gotta
the
save.
hard part. Like, where do you save? In the old days, you could put it in a bank account, but the interest on a savings account now is almost laughable.
Exactly. It is laughable. Miss Helen, it is. So we we want to look for some high interest earning accounts, a lot of internet banking, which is good, like Capital One and Allied Bank are good as well. And if Miss Wanda, I'm not sure, and I apologize because I was late, if she talked about the tax advantage vehicles that you can utilize, but where you can get, and the one place that people miss, right? There's 4 places where people put money, and people put money in the bank, right? Because it's safe. But again, as Miss Helen said, we get a low interest rate, right? And then, see, Miss Latasha knows there's a high Capital One, exactly 5%. Then we put money into the stock market because we get the high potential gains, but then there's also the potential of loss, right? Real estate is another place that people put money, but you don't want all your eggs in one basket. And some people think real estate is the be all to everything, and it is not, right? And then insurance. So if Miss Wanda, I don't know if she talked about this, but insurance is another place that you can utilize as a savings vehicle. Cash value life insurance you can utilize as a savings vehicle that gives you a high interest rate of return also, and you don't have any losses on your money. There's no stipulations when you can take the cash value that's accumulating out, and then you still have the protection.
Laura, what's the question? You said Serena has a question?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me? Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone. I'm on the phone this time. Good evening. I just wanted to add, I wanted to thank you, host. Shout out to my other sister-in-law, Lois Moses. But I wanted to just share something with you all, because the importance of life insurance with living benefits. My mother, this is hitting home for me. My mother taught for 36 years, an educator. She was the only African-American teacher in Interborough School District for 36 years. She trusted her retirement planner, and I'm getting emotional now to talk about this. She trusted her retirement planner, and long story short, I was in the hospital with her when my dad comes in for her to sign her last disbursement because she was not properly educated. She didn't know about life insurance with living benefits, so they had to use all her last nest egg to pay for the mortgage. They had to pay for household expenses and things like that. So much to the point where they were living off of credit at the end. So it's very important just to share this with everyone you know. And I'm so glad that these investors and retirement planners are on the phone, because it is so important. I'm 50 years old and I need to plan ahead for myself, but it is very important to be educated about all the proper vehicles that you can use for life insurance when you're at all stages of life, and what vehicles will be able to help you. So again, thank you all. And I just wanted to share my story with you, my mother's story, and the inspiration so much that I ended up getting my Pennsylvania life. I have to get it renewed though. My Pennsylvania life insurance license, because I said I have to tell people about this. So I have my life insurance, life, health, accident, and fixed annuity license. I have to renew them though. But again, thank you for the opportunity and for all the information, the wealth of information. I will be contacting you. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Great
Absolutely. We like to say that the life insurance with the living benefit is the game changer, because life insurance as we know it is no longer just for the death benefit. We don't have to die to use our life insurance anymore, right? That used to be the case. Now, if we're diagnosed with a critical, chronic, or terminal illness, you can accelerate a percentage of the death benefit to have backup money to take care of the things that you would normally have to take care of financially, right? You don't have to wipe yourself out financially by liquidating assets or accessing retirement plans. That's what I used to see most often working in corporate America, managing the retirement savings accounts. Most people were accessing 401k and 403b money to cover major medical expenses. So with the life insurance, with the living benefits, you can have that and not have to worry, right? And it pays you in a lump sum, and it does not dictate what you use the money for. So if you don't need it to take care of other fixed expenses or, other additional healthcare expenses, then you can do whatever you want with it, right? Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that.
Good information. Thank you. Are there any more questions? These ladies have been so wonderful with their time, but I appreciate your time as well. So I just want to make sure if there are any outstanding questions, we can get them asked. I do recommend that you reach out to both Lynn and Wanda for specific information that you might have pertaining to you, because you don't want to put all your business on Front Street. We are recording. It will be on, and I think Annette's questions in the chats talking about how to ascertain, who you want to do business to, who you want to entrust your money and your information to. Those are crucial, because we live in scam society. Everybody's scamming. And, hand over all your information and they can wipe you out. So the other thing that I really wish we could talk about just very quickly is someone called me right before this call today. Her mother just passed away. Her brother has been dead for 20 some years. Her mom never took his name off of her policy. And I remember working with a young lady way back when nobody even knew she had ever been married, and she died unexpectedly. Her sister's handling everything, assuming that, everything's in her name. She had no children or whatever. She had never taken her ex-husband off of her policies, and they had not been together in many, 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 many years. So I think Angela Trapp put in the chats that we probably should be doing an assessment annual of who our beneficiaries are. So I don't know if you all can speak to those kinds of situations, because they're very real. And I think we all have stories to tell.
That is a good point, Miss Helen. And so, what Miss Wanda and I do every year, we do beneficiary reviews. So we do annual reviews with our clients, and we do beneficiary reviews, because if something changes, a lot of times we're not, we're in grieving process. So we're not thinking about all of the other things that we have in place that, we have to take that person off or those persons off. So you should be doing a beneficiary review of all of your assets, so that you can make sure that they're up to date. So as Ms. Helen said, right, there is not anyone that's on there that's no longer here, because, for like you said, for 20 years post-death, not, who would have thought We just don't think about that. You know, I have a friend right now, you know, I've been calling her. Her son passed away, only child, suddenly in October, unexpected. And, you know, we've been talking every day. We got to change this. We got to change this. But just keeping it top of mind, right? I'm sorry. I know that you're in that process, but this is important because if something happens to you, now what? Now the family has to go through this whole process with the insurance company to probably provide death benefit for the brother. I'm sorry, death certificate for the brother to show that he's no longer there and cannot make the decision. But then here's what happens if there wasn't a contingent. So always have a primary beneficiary and a contingent beneficiary. So if something happens to the primary and you have the documentation, yes, also reading mails and all of that as well. Don't ignore it, right? But you have that contingent. So if something did happen to the primary, now you have the documentation that the primary beneficiary is no longer here. It'll go to the contingent. But in this case, Mrs. Helen, we don't know. I don't know if there was a contingent on there, right? Maybe the daughter was a contingent. If not, that's going to be a fight and a battle for her. Because then it's like, well, there was no one else but that person, and that person's no longer here.
Yeah,
So-
no, there were two, brother and sister, but
Okay.
now you got the ex-wife, well, the widow who's stepping forward to is a mess. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes we don't want to talk about death because it makes us deal with our mortality, but it's a reality. And we need to
Yes,
have
ma'am.
conversations and people who aren't comfortable. I mean, I understand, neither of you talked about people not feeling that they can trust their kids enough. That's a big issue. But you got to trust somebody. You got to have that conversation with somebody about what you have. And people don't want to. So how do you guys talk
Yeah.
people through that to get them to the
Yeah.
point where they are having those conversations?
Exactly, right. And we bring that up because there are two things that most of us in our families did not have conversations around: money and debt, right? And so we talk about that because it's important now that those family secrets that we hold on to and those things we don't want to talk about, we have to let go of those generational curses in order to do generational wealth transfer, right? And so we want to make sure if someone says, I don't trust my kids, I don't think, as Ms. Helen said, you have to have a trusted professional. But here's the thing, aside from all of the things that you have in place, you also should have some sort of estate plan, living trust, living will, something in writing so that people know where to go to find the information. The worst thing that could happen is that something happens to us and our family has no idea of what we have in place and what we want to happen. You have to have those things in writing. And when I say this, I mean, I'm so passionate about it, you know, advanced medical directives and do not resuscitate orders. All of those things need to be in place. We got to know what we want. I mean, you know, people have to be able to make a decision. It is not just, you know, being unable to speak for ourselves, whether we are incapacitated or we've passed on, but for the family to be in the grieving process and then have no idea of what to do or where to go. I meet people even now that say, you know, I don't know where my insurance policy is. What do you mean you don't know where your insurance policy is? Important documents need to be in an important, safe place, right? Because we have to know, and the family needs to know, and we just have to have the conversation. Long gone are the days that we're just not talking to one another, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking to our kids and we're not sharing with family. Long gone are those days, breaking those generational curses again, because it's about generational wealth transfer. And they have to know what needs to be done. We have to have the conversation.
I have to tell you, I dated this guy who was a stickler, and he retired military. He retired from city government. I mean, he was okay. And he was divorced many years ago, but they never had children. So, and I know he had a will because he was just that kind of guy. He had a good sister and a bad sister. He ends up in a medical situation. And I say good sister because at least she went to the hospital and tried to save his life. The other one, she was just a piece of work. And Wanda's laughing, but she was she was a sister like you just didn't want to see coming. Well, when he dies, the good sister's at the hospital. handling whatever the issues are and whatever. The bad sister, oh honey, she is at his house. She took everything out of the house, the computers and everything. So if there, and I'm sure he had a will and he was not fond of her, she probably was not in it. Her son probably was because he thought a lot of her son. But the point is that the bad sister took off with the will. She took off, I mean, if there was a will, she took any proof of it. By the time the good sister came around, you know, she didn't know what to do. She had the locks changed on the house, but the damage was done. The bad sister had even took the brand new Lex. I mean, and but what I explained to her is that you guys are both, because he had no children, even if he doesn't have a will and both of your parents are dead, you all are equal beneficiaries, but she was kind of bullied by the bad sister. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, so the fact that he had a will, like, and another friend, she died, and we know she had a will too, but where is the will? Who's the lawyer that handled the will? Nobody knew. So you gotta have somebody. There's gotta be one person that you trust. Even if it's somebody that you have to pay, like a Juanda or a Lynn, and just say, if something happens to me, call Juanda. You don't have to tell people your business if that's how you feel, but somebody needs to know where to look and who has the docs.
Mhm, mhm.
That's very, very important because it happens all the time, and I deal with that, and the story that of my having to go through, even though there was a trust, and sometimes people can change trust around so many times and not have the right lawyer in place who knows how to deal with those types of changes, especially when you get older. That's the other thing that we don't think about. When you get older and you make changes, then at least in California, I'm not sure how it is in New Jersey, you're looked at differently. And so you may very well have meant to leave whatever you left, but there are certain other requirements that you have to fulfill for them to feel that you have made those decisions without any coercion. And so as a person that has gone through being accused of elder abuse and all types of financial abuse and this and that abuse and what have you, because my godmother didn't want to leave certain things to certain persons, and they decided that I had done something to change her mind. And anybody who knew my godmother knew that it's no way possible. I couldn't even get her to let me write a check until she died. So how could I change her mind on her entire estate? But because of the laws out here, and if you're considered out in California a caregiver of any type, or if they just say that you were supposedly a caregiver, that's like the word that draws up all kinds of issues. And next thing you know, you're having to go through a whole lot of legal issues and waste a whole lot of money and time because someone has said you're a caregiver and you were a beneficiary. And so now you're considered to be somebody who has done some underhanded thing, even though if you're the person that actually took care of the person who
and all those people who have their hands out, they were nowhere around, didn't change a diaper, take anybody to a doctor's appointment or nothing, and have the audacity to show up at the end with all these demands. But that happens, right? But anyway, ladies, this has been a wonderful conversation. I hate to end it, but we are hitting 6:30. Please come again. I think that the information that you shared was helpful. Make sure that you leave your information in the chats, how people can get in touch with you. And if anybody, if you're missing some information, you all can feel free to contact me and I will make sure that, Juanda and Lynn get your information. So did you have any closing remarks that you wanted to share before we sign off?
I did want to say, looks like there was, thank you, Ms. Helen, for that. I think there were a couple of questions around mortgage protection insurance, or what about the mortgage? Did you address that one?
I put a link if anyone is interested, and I apologize because that's something too that is very, very key, along with just like Ms. Helen said, that people can lose everything by not having themselves properly covered. We actually are going to, in fact, even have a seminar on mortgage protection, life insurance that it would be very, very beneficial. I put the links in the chat. If you look at the link right there, you can, and there's also a YouTube video that you can kind of look at that we created, but I'm also putting my information. But if you use those links will take you to where you can go and view the information. It's on Monday at it's going to be, unfortunately, it's a little late your time, but it's only in half an hour at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we do a very nice presentation on mortgage protection and how it's used, and what people also don't understand about it, because a lot of times people think that they're covered, and really who's covered is their mortgage person. And when it's all said and done, the house ends up going to someone else, or being lost, because there are some factors that happen that because they weren't covered, and because the kids, you cannot automatically pass on your house to your child. And I can't remember if we said that, but if you plan on leaving your home to your family, you need to have a means to be able to do that properly, because again, that goes back to that story about my friend who lost his house or lost his estate because they didn't have that type of protection. So in any event, I am leaving my information in the chat, in addition to the fact that you can use that link to sign up to attend the seminar. And I have my email there. Helen has the ability to get a hold of me. I thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that you will take advantage of the information, because it's something that most people listen to and then they just say, oh, that's nice, and they go on about their business. But it's something that at the very least, we do talk to you and follow up for free. And all the services actually we provide are free. We don't charge you for the services that we provide. So you don't have to be concerned that if you sit down with us for 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, that we're going to charge you like, an actual financial advisor. That's because we're not financial advisors, for one. We are, persons, financial professionals that deal with different aspects of the financial industry, where we deal primarily with insurance, and it's an area that most people just don't understand. And so I'll leave it at that, and I hope I get a chance to not only speak with you but also help you, because that again is my passion. I do it not only because obviously it's something that I'll be transparent. I'm doing it because it also helped me to retire, and so those persons who are looking to do something to increase their income and to help people, this is definitely a way to do so. It's a very lucrative industry, and it's an industry where you're helping people. And the way that we do it, we help people, but we don't interrupt their plan to put money in our pockets. And so that's a big benefit, because you don't have to worry about, if we help you, that money is going to be diminishing what you're getting. That's just not how it works. And so we can talk to you more about that, and we'd love to have you join us, because we do have a mission to be able to help. My mission is 1,000 families, like I said, and we have an overall mission of 10,000 families to help overall group of people that are involved in this. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for allowing me to share again, and I hope to be able to talk to many of you. And for those of you that are going to the Gullah Festival, I hope to see you there.
Okay.
Thanks,
Wanda,
Helen.
hi,
Yeah.
Wanda. Could
Yes.
you just put the information for tomorrow night in the link?
It's in-
I did.
Yes.
I'll see if I
I
can do
think
it.
Anthony, is that what Anthony put here too? Is that the registration for tomorrow, Anthony?
Yes,
I just
I
put
just
it.
copied what she put in there,
Okay,
put it a little lower, yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
So you all
I
see
do have a
that?
website, urbanfinancialliteracy.com. So I finally got my website up. I'm kind of proud of it. It's not really complicated, but it does also give you some information that allows you ability to contact us. And Lynn's is also there. So I'm trying to get my myself back up. I mean, like myself back, but up to speed and with the current times, I guess.
Is there somewhere on your website that people can fill out a contact form so that you can circle
There-
back with them?
There is. They can do that. They can schedule a meeting, and then also I did put a link there today where they can fill out the registration form for more information as well. I put a link in there to be able to do that. So if you're interested in contacting me, I did put, I'm trying to see where that link is. I did put a link in
I
there
just
so
put it
that.
there for your urbanfinancialliteracy.com. Or did you
Yeah,
say
it's just, that is a registration link that I put
Oh.
in there, that's that people can just fill out the form, and that will allow us to know their interest. I'll put it one more time in there. I did it a couple of times, but I'll do it one last time so that people can also use that, and that would help us to know exactly, what it is that you're interested in knowing more about, so that we can be better prepared to help you. So I just put it in there now, so you can use that form and it'll go to us as well.
Thanks, Helen. Thanks, Miss Wanda. Thanks, Miss Lynn.
You're
I hope
welcome.
the
Thank
next
you,
step
everyone.
is estate planning, Helen.
Hey, you know what? I wish I could tell you that. I mean, I'm talking a good game, but I am I'm horrible.
But I've been working on her.
I am horrible. So I'm speaking, and I'm an attorney. So you hear people call, it's just horrible. And people think, oh, my family would never do this or that. Yeah, they would. You got 10 cents, somebody. And the horrible thing is lawyers are the only ones who win. Because you want to fight over stuff because people didn't leave things in order, and it ends up in court, and lawyers are the only ones who walk away with all your money. And I guess people don't care. They're just so pissed that they're not getting it. They don't care that I don't know what other rationale you could have.
But I'd like to learn the estate vehicles for helping our survivors avoid the tax consequences. That's what the wealthy do too. That's one of the other things they do. You know.
Yeah.
And I learned this word in law school is sheets.
Oh
Which
yeah.
means when
Right.
you don't have a will or whatever,
Mhm.
the money is sheets to the state.
Right.
You don't have
Yeah.
a will, you don't have any
Exactly.
survivors or what have you, which
Mhm.
means the state gets to keep all your money. And who wants that? The state's already
Mhm.
getting more than their fair, than what they deserve. So
Mhm.
anyway, on that note, everybody turn off
Thank
your,
you so
turn,
much.
please unmute and let's do our,
Thank you.
so we can, first of all, thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn, you guys have to come again. I already see a
Yes, ma'am.
request for that. I just think it's good information. Is never too much. So Wanda, you just ask, and whenever you guys can come back, that's not a problem. And on that note, can everybody please unmute? We can do what we do just at the end of every call.
Thank
And-
you.
And maybe we'll do better this week than we do every other week. So, anyway, it's been a wonderful Sunday. And again, as is always the case, when Black women gather.
Amazing
things
happen.
Thank you.
Yay.
Bye, Wanda.
Thank you. Have a
Another
great
amazing
week, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Helen.
Thank you, Helen. Thank
Okay.
you, Lynn. Thank you, Wanda.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you to
going
our
to
wonderful
stop
presenters.
recording, and those of you who want to know about the Gullah Festival, just hang around and I'll give you those details. But on that note, we're going to stop recording and say thank you again, and we'll see you next week. When we have a real interesting topic for you, which I will send some information out. And this month is really tied up because then we're also going to do reparations. So the woman next week is going to talk about how she fought to get back entitlement to property that was taken from her family through the Urban Renewal Act, which, as Linda calls it, the Negro Removal Act. And then we have a Sunday where we're going to talk about Pan-Africanism. What is it? Does it still exist? What does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then Barbara Ransom and Linda will come and speak to us about reparations. As you all know, reparations were just passed in California. I think they're passed in California, but they're certainly much further along than they are in the rest of the country. So it's an interesting month that we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And of course, if anybody's on this call and you have a topic that you want us to cover, please, please, please reach out to me. If you missed last week, you need to really take a minute, listen to that video. It was fantastic. We listened to Black men talk about their trials and tribulations and challenges and successes in fathering while Black. So, and mental health and Black men's mental health. So thank you all for coming. And again, just stick around if you want to hear about the Gullah Festival, or if you have something that you just want us to know. Okay, thank you.